Hello friends, welcome to today's video. Happy fall everyone. I really hope that you're excited for the new season. I do feel a little bit sad that the summer is over. However, at the same time, I'm happy to embrace fall. I'm looking forward to get really cozy this season, so I hope you're excited as well. Unless of course you're in the other hemisphere and it is beginning of spring for you, which in this case, I really hope you have a lovely warm spring. In today's video, I really want to go over all of the books that I want to read this season, so this is going to be my priority fall TBR. I really try to narrow it down to the books that I really definitely want to read this fall, because honestly there are just so many books that I want to read. It's unmanageable and I am a slow reader, so I can't really read them all. These are definitely the books that I would love to get to this season. I do have a couple of bonus ones which are not a required reading for me, but I would love to read them as well. Without further ado, let's get started. I do have mostly fantasy on this list, although I do also have a bit of mystery, a bit of dark academia, one classic, I know, exciting, but most of it is fantasy. I have been in a huge fantasy mood this year and it just continues to be like this, so I'm very excited to read more fantasy books in this fall. So let's get started and let's go over my fall TBR. The first book that I really want to read this season is actually a library haul that I received yesterday, and I was so excited because I'm so happy that it came through during fall. I feel like it's going to be a perfect fall read, and that is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillick. I'm sorry, this cover is so shiny that all you see is reflection. This is the first book of her new gothic fantasy romantasy series. It actually came out earlier this year, so this is a new release, which is also very exciting. As I said, I got this haul yesterday and I read the first 10 pages because I was waiting somewhere in the line. I am already so in love with this book. There are pet gargoyles. I'm sorry. Do I need to say anything else? I am expecting this to be such an entertaining, fun read. I expect that I'm going to go through this book really fast because Rachel Gillick tends to write really fast-paced romantasies, but they're always so atmospheric. She has just like a perfect level of gothic atmospheric, but also fun and entertaining at the same time, and I just absolutely love the way that she writes. I only read, of course, the only other work that is published by her, which is the Shepherd King duology, but it's just so entertaining. The magic system in the Shepherd King duology was really fun, so I'm expecting The Night and the Moth to also have quite interesting magic system. I'm looking forward to learning about it. I don't really know too much about the plot. I know that there are women who are the diviners and they read future for others, but then it is a very taxing job on them, and then there's going to be a romance between one of the diviners and a knight, but I don't really know too much about the world or the magic system, and I'm very excited to find out more about it, especially because there are live gargoyles. It's just, I'm sorry, it's so cute. Like, it's literally, the book starts with a description of a gargoyle and right off the bat it's so fun and entertaining, so I'm very curious to see how the rest of it goes, but I'm sure I'm going to rate this pretty highly. I don't know when the next book is going to be coming out, but nevertheless, I'm so looking forward to jumping into this one, and it's definitely going to be one of the first books that I get through from my physical TBR for this fall. The next book that I really want to get to this fall is The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. So this is the second book of the Broken Earth trilogy, the first one being the 5th season. I read this about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and I loved the first book so much. As I said, it's a mix of sci-fi and fantasy, and this story just has so many interesting elements. This book follows multiple POVs, and all of the characters that we are following possess this magic that allows them to control and also to predict earthquakes, and it is obviously an extremely strong power that they possess. So people who have this magic power, they're not really treated well by the government and also by the general society, and most people who possess this magic power, they're either outcasts or they work for the government, but it is almost like a slavery. It is a really dark world, so if you do feel like reading this trilogy, please just be warned that there are a lot of really devastating things that happen to many of these characters, and just in general this world is rough and it's hard and depressing, but at the same time the plot twist of the ending of the book was so incredibly good, and also there were just so many things that I have so many questions about, so I'm very excited to continue. I also really loved the writing style. It's very unique. One of the POVs is written in second person, which you don't really come across that often. There were so many things that I absolutely loved about book book 1, and I gave the 5th season 5 stars, so I really want to jump into book 2. I don't want to have too much of a gap between the books so that I still retain all of the things that happen in the first book. I'm very interested to see how I feel about the rest of this trilogy, because so far it is just absolutely fantastic. It is nothing like anything that I have read before, so I'm very intrigued and I'm really excited to read book 2. The next book on my fall TBR I'm also so excited about, and that is The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. I have heard so many incredible things about this fantasy standalone. To be honest, I don't know anything about the plot, just because I purposely decided that I'm going to be going into this book completely blindly, so I have not read much of the description of what it is about. As far as I know, you're learning a story of some warriors of this world, and then it is very much like folklore, like fairy tale sort of writing. I don't really know too many details. I have specifically been saving up this read for fall, and I think my haul at the library is going to come through in the next couple of weeks, and I'm just so excited. From the reviews that I've seen, like, I don't think I have seen a single person on the internet say anything bad about this book. All of the reviews that I've seen, and especially all of the people that I watch who have similar taste to mine or whose recommendations I really trust, everyone has given this book 5, if not 6 stars. So I am so excited. I'm very intrigued. Obviously, my expectations are rather high, although I will try to just keep it down and take it the story as it is and really experience it, but I'm just really looking forward to it. This book has been intriguing me for so long, and I think it is finally time that I read it. Next on my list is none other than The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I am so excited. I think it is finally time that I read this book. Earlier this year, I had my whole Lord of the Rings journey. I read The Fellowship of the Ring, and I have a vlog on my channel where I do like spoiler-free reactions. There are some sections that talk a little bit about spoilers, but they're all very general. And then I have a second vlog where I read The Two Towers and The Return of the King, and that one is full on spoilers. But yes, I deep dived into The Lord of the Rings this year, and I absolutely loved my journey. So I would really love to read the prequel as well. I know that the tone of this book is quite different to The Lord of the Rings, and it reads a lot more like children's book, but nevertheless, I think it is going to be a perfect read for autumn. In general, I associate Tolkien's writing with something so cozy and comforting and just kind and pure. I feel like it will be a really great uplifting read for the season. Also, I absolutely love this paperback that I have. It has a lot of golden foiling and it's just so pretty. I think it is gorgeous, and of course it has a dragon on the cover, which is a bonus. So I'm really excited. I think it's going to be short and sweet and fun, and I cannot wait to jump back into Middle Earth, into this world, and into Tolkien's writing. The next book on my fall TBR is also a new release. It is not out yet. It is coming out on November 11th. I am so looking forward to it. It is a sequel to a book that I gave 5 stars to, and that made it to my favorite books of 2024. And that is The Strength of the Few by James Islington. So this is the sequel to The Will of the Many. I loved the first book so much. It had such a good atmosphere, very interesting magic system. I don't think it was too complicated of a magic system. It's basically based on hierarchy, and the world is very much ancient Roman inspired world. And so in this world, whoever is higher on the hierarchy and whoever has more social status gets power and magic from people below them, and so on. And whoever is on the bottom has to give a lot of like their soul and their energy and their mental strength to all of the people above them. And beyond that, it is also kind of a dark academia fantasy. A lot of the first book takes place within a school setting, which I really loved. And also the ending was absolutely crazy. There were so many plot twists and so many things that I really want to know answers to. So I'm very excited to read The Strength of the Few. Obviously, it's going to be pushed to like very late fall because it's only being released in November. But I feel like it's going to be such an interesting read. And also, I have seen quite a few creators here on YouTube who got the arcs for the second book. And so far, all of the reviews are absolutely amazing. So I'm just so excited. I have really high hopes that this series is just going to be continuing being a very solid, fun fantasy series that has just a lot of twists, a lot of secrets. I am really looking looking forward to reading this book, so it's definitely on my priority list for this autumn. I didn't actually realize this when I was putting this list together, but I have so many new releases on my fall TBR. I think the reason for it is because earlier this year in spring and also in summer, I was really focusing on getting through my physical TBR. I can't say I made a huge progress, but I definitely did some progress, and I'm happy with it. I'm really happy how my reading went during the summer. However, at the same time, I feel like in fall, I really want to just embrace reading whatever I want to read and not really restrain myself to my physical TBR and allow myself to borrow books from the library and just read whatever I'm in the mood for. That's why I have so many new releases on this list. So the last book on my fantasy TBR for this fall is going to be Isles of the Ember Dark by Brandon Sanderson. This is his newest release. This is Brandon Sanderson's secret project number 5. This book is set in Cosmere, and apparently it's very quintessential to the Cosmere because it puts a lot of Cosmere concepts all together. And as far as I understand, it also very much deals with the future of the Cosmere as we know it. If you don't know, Cosmere is Brandon Sanderson's biggest universe. Most of his most well-known works are set in Cosmere, such as the Mistborn series, the Stormlight Archives, and a lot of his standalones like Elantris and Warbreaker and so on. This is one of the secret projects. I have not read all of the secret projects. I think I actually only read Chess and the Emerald Sea, which honestly wasn't my favorite, but I have really high hopes for the Isles of the Ember Dark. I have seen amazing reviews so far. It seems like this book is getting really popular, so I'm very excited. I recently started reading The Alloy of Law, which is book 4 of Mistborn series, or the first book of Era 2 of Mistborn, and I realized that I just miss Brandon Sanderson writing so much. I don't think he has the most lyrical, unique writing style. No, it's pretty straightforward, but it's just something about the way that he crafts his fantasy worlds that I absolutely love, and I have really high hopes for the Isles of the Ember Dark. I think it's going to be a fantastic read. From the description, I don't really understand it too much. I read it a couple of times and I'm still not quite sure what this book is about. But as far as I know, there are some people who live in an island and they bond with this giant birds, and also it has something to do with space as well, or with the cosmos and the stars. I feel like it's going to be a pretty interesting read. I'm very excited about it. Eventually I would love to get through all of Brandon Sanderson's works, so this one is definitely going to be on my fall TBR. I actually already have a Kindle copy, so I'm very excited that I can just jump into this as soon as I want to. I'm definitely going to be getting to this book this fall, and I'm also really excited to see more reviews of it as more people pick this book up, and I think it is going to be a really great read. Next, I quickly wanted to mention 2 other books that I would like to read this fall, but they're not necessarily on my priority list just because they're both the first books of a new series for me. I'm a little bit hesitant jumping into a new series just because I'm in the middle of so many. So I am trying to prioritize series at the moment, but at the same time there are 2 that I would really love to start. So I'm just going to keep them in mind and see how I feel about them. The first series on this list is the Locked Tomb series by Tamsin Muir. I hope I pronounced that name right. If I didn't, please yell at me in the comments. So the first book of the series is Gideon the Ninth. This is a mix between fantasy and sci-fi, and it is about lesbian necromancers, and it just sounds so fun. All the people that I know that have read this series have been raving about it, and I have heard so many amazing reviews. This generally tends to be a 5-star series for so many people that I watch, so I'm very curious about it. So if I do feel like picking up a new series this fall, it will probably be the Locked Tomb series. Another book that is on my radar that I would really love to read, but also I feel very intimidated by it just because this series is so long. There are so many books, and that is The Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan. So The Age of Myth is the first book of the Legends of the First Empire series, but this entire series, which I think is a 4 or 5 book series, it's not very short. This entire whole series is a prequel series to his other works, which are also very long fantasy book series. So I think I'm just intimidated by the amount of books that you need to get through in order to complete this series, but at the same time, The Age of Myth specifically has just been on my radar for so long. I heard really great reviews about the series, and I'm very intrigued and excited to eventually jump into this world. We'll see if it happens this fall. As I said, it's kind of good to have but not priority for TBR. If I was feeling like starting a new fantasy series, and especially a very long one, I think I will be going with the Legends of the First Empire. Now let's move on to dark academia / mysteries. I have 2 books on this list, and the first one I feel like everyone out there has read except me. And I do feel a lot of FOMO. Also, I feel like everyone gives this book a 5 star. I feel like I have to read it finally this fall, and that is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is a dark academia book about a group of theater students. I think they study Shakespeare, and there is a murder that happens, and then you see a perspective of far in the future, I don't know, 10, 20 years in the future, of the person who was accused of the murder getting out of jail, but then they actually start to tell the whole story of what actually happened and who was actually the person responsible for the murder. I think that is generally overall plot of this book. People say that it has a great atmosphere, that it has like a perfect dark academia vibe, which I am always in the mood for, especially in fall. I feel like I'm going to really love it. And also, as I said, I feel a lot of FOMO because everyone has read it, everyone has been loving this book, so I think it is time I pick it up. And another dark academia / mystery book that I really want to read this fall is The Woman in the Library by Sulari Gentle. I really hope I pronounced that right. Again, if not, yell at me in the comments. So this is a mystery about 4 people who study in Boston Public Library, and then there is a scream and someone gets murdered. And these 4 characters, they start talking and they quickly become friends, but then as it turns out, one of them is supposedly responsible for this murder because they're the only people who are in this library. And apparently it has like a very twisted, interesting way of telling the story and discovering the mystery. I actually got this recommendation from my mom, so shout out to my mom. I think I'm going to really like it, and I think it is really nice to throw a mystery there in the mix of between all of my fantasy books that I'm planning on reading this fall. So this is definitely going to be the book that I'm going to prioritize this fall. Then the last category is going to be other genres. I have 1 classic and 1 dystopian, so I'm just gonna put them all together in 1 category. The classic that I really want to read this fall is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This is actually going to be a reread because I read this book probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. I don't remember exactly, but when I read it for the first time, I loved it so much. It's definitely a slower paced classic where there's a lot of atmosphere but not a whole lot going on, and you're kind of sitting with that tension and mystery for a really long time, but you're not really being fed any more information about what's happening. I absolutely love atmosphere in books, and I remember enjoying this book so much. I vividly have like images and scenes from the book still printed in my head, so I'm very curious to see how I feel about it on the reread, whether I would love it as much as I did, or maybe I will find some flaws in the story. We'll see if my reading taste has changed or not, but I'm really looking forward to reading it. I have been saving this read for fall because I feel like it is just this perfect atmospheric and gothic read for this season. If you don't know the plot of the story, it is about this young woman who meets a man, and he's Mr. Charming. He basically just wants to marry her right off the bat, and he falls in love with her very quickly and very deeply. However, he has an ex-wife, and once they actually marry and then arrive to his huge mansion, it turns out that everything in the house revolves around the way the ex-wife did things, and so the main character feels like she's not good enough, and there is just so much that is built around the ex-wife and not her. You do have a very long chunk of the book that's just sitting with this atmosphere and with all of these feelings, but then the plot twists at the end are so good. I really enjoyed how the story concludes. I do remember everything that happens, but I still am very curious to see how I feel about it on the reread. I feel like it's going to be a really great time. I really hope I love it as much as I did the first time I read that book. And the last book on my list is a dystopian, and that is The Wall by Marlene Haushofer. This is a story that is set in Austria, I believe, and it is about a woman who gets trapped with these walls around her all of a sudden, and she's trapped with her dog, her cat, and a cow. She doesn't really know why these walls appeared all of a sudden, and she's just trying to figure it out. I think this book is very much also about her relationship with her animals, which I think is very sweet, and I'm very interested to see how I feel about it. I have been craving something like I Who Have Never Known Men for so long. In fact, the other day I was talking to my friend who has read I Who Have Never Known Men, and we have had the discussion again about that book, and I just cannot let it go. I love that book so much. I really miss that book a lot. I miss the feeling that this book gave me, so I keep searching for something like this in other works, and I'm very curious to see what I think about The Wall. The premise sounds really interesting, so I'm excited to pick it up. So that is going to be all for today's video. This is my entire fall priority TBR. I really hope that I will be able to squeeze some other reads in between these ones as well, but we'll see how it goes because I am a slow reader. But either way, I'm very excited for autumn. I'm looking forward to embracing this season and trying to make the most out of it and get really cozy and hopefully read a lot of great books. Please let me know down in the comments what are some of the books that you would like to read this fall. I would love to hear what you're in the mood for, what you feel like picking up. Also, if you have read any of the books that I mentioned today, I would love to hear whether you like them or not. Obviously spoiler free, but I would love to chat to you in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here so much. I really hope that you have a lovely day, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye.